Hey everyone, you're listening to Goddamn Gamecube, a podcast where we discuss video game franchises and video game industry topics that we're passionate about. This is part 3 of the Resident Evil Retrospective.
Okay, so moving on to a game that I didn't know I had to play, and then you told me I had to.
No!
Because you were like, well, you want to play the main series, you got to play Code Veronica, which to some people is the official Resident Evil 3.
I hate this fucking game.
Let me preface this by saying a lot of people really like this game. I'm not sure why. I'm assuming because they grew up with it and they probably haven't played it since then.
Yes.
But in terms of someone who played 3 and then Code Veronica like back to back, I just did that like a couple months ago. 3 I thought aged so much better than this game. So right off the bat, we're following Claire Redfield. She's continuing looking for Chris. And the opening cinematic is her like running from like a helicopter
that's shooting at
and
her,
it's like a Matrix scene. The entire tone is completely shattered of what you expect of a Resident Evil game. It's like it's a completely different direction.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, like who is Claire? She is as close to an everyman as we've gotten so far.
This game jumps the shark within like 9 seconds.
Yeah,
where
it's like you know. I mean, I guess it sets the tone for what you're gonna expect.
Yeah, it really sets the meme tone, I think.
Yeah,
this game, I fucking hate this game. I really got to rein myself in here and try to be objective about this, but it's very hard. Where in the first cutscene, the game is awful, or you're like, oh my god. And I'm going to tell everybody this. This was the second Resident Evil game I ever played as a kid, and I already didn't love it.
Let's just assume that you saw that and you weren't thrown by it, or you were a kid, so you didn't really get...
You didn't care.
It was just like, oh, okay, so this is what's going on. Whatever, okay. As the game unfolds, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous, but I didn't realize how much worse for me it was gonna get. It's just like it's nonstop. I think the biggest problem with this game is how fucking long it is.
It's so long.
It's absurdly long, very repetitive.
I believe there's a disc change.
Yeah, we'll get to all of this. Let me just say, I think this is originally for the Dreamcast.
Yes.
Right? This is the first one to use fully rendered environments instead of pre-rendered backdrops.
Yep, and the camera kind of moves with you a little.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It looks worse.
It has aged worse than 3.
Yeah.
And this is the case for a lot of games that do this. It's in that weird Twilight period where between
consoles.
Yeah. It just does not look great. If you can't deal with the pre-rendered backdrops, maybe you prefer this.
I don't know how. It's so bad.
It looks terrible. I mean, okay, so you start like in prison.
Yep, with the guy
island
who needs the medicine.
Who needs medicine? He dies anyway, so it's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Immediately after this game starts, you meet the worst character in the entire Resident Evil franchise. You know what I'm talking about?
Please tell the audience who it is.
His name is Steve.
Oh.
And he's a little boy who has 2 Mac 11s, and he runs around and he's like, nothing personal, kid. He's really like, he's one of those types of characters. He's really annoying. He is like...
He's acted horribly.
He's acted horribly. His voice is terrible. It's really like, why are you here and how are you still alive?
I almost forgot he was in the game until you brought this up.
Really?
It's so bad.
Because he has also, like, for... You know how many, like, characters that you want to know more about, you'd be happy to spend more time with, like Marvin. Like,
yes.
He's great. Steve is like, holy shit, he's there like the whole game.
Yes.
It's insane how much they had riding on this character. He's like the Jar Jar Binks of this fucking game.
He is the Jar Jar Binks.
It's really like,
of this game.
Oh no, like you're still here. He doesn't like... He contributes nothing but annoyance.
It's so bad. We'll get
Yeah, well,
We'll get into this. His boss battle's really bad.
I mean, it
Wait,
kinda,
can we wait? I'm so angry about this. Can we back this up just for a moment?
Sure.
Steve is awful. Every character in this game is awful.
I was gonna say that. I mean, but he is, in terms of like, he does not even serve a purpose. Like, you could have cut him out and it would have been fine. It would have been better.
That's true. If he wasn't in the game, it would have been a better game.
But there's no way around this. But just getting right to it, the villain of this game is. It's a disaster. It's in pretty much every way. It's like, so initially you are fighting Alfred Ashford, who is the lord
of the manor of the, above
something.
the jail.
His grandfather was one of the founders of Umbrella and all that shit.
Because of course.
Yeah, of course. So this character, to say the least, would be considered very problematic in today's.
Not in the year 2000, but in the year 2019.
I was like, oh no. As soon as they showed what was going on, I was like, oh dear.
Beppe, why don't you tell our audience in the most sensitive way about this character?
Alfred Ashford is an unhinged, full camp, cross-dressing mutant who can fly jets. And they present this character in the least delicate presentation possible.
Yes. It's probably an aspect of maybe a Japanese culture thing.
Yeah.
Because several... I don't want to get too... This is probably a subject for a different podcast, but there are several instances in Japanese games where LGBT stuff is made fun of a little bit.
Yeah.
So we don't have to get too far into that. But when this game came out, it was 19 years ago, 2001,
something like that.
Something like that, and it is not tastefully done. It's really cringy. It's acted horribly, and it's
really
awful.
like it's just playing into a stereotype of the fact that it has to be both. That Alfred is both a villain and he's also insane, and he's the only example of someone who is like gender non-conforming. And so it's just like, to play that now is like, well, you know, you kind of expect some insensitivity as if you're playing a game from a couple decades ago, but it's just like, it's hard to, because it's so campy.
It's really bad.
So insane. And then they just keep adding layers upon layers of,
they really pile it on.
Bizarre. Like, he's also like super powered and can fly jets, and he thinks that he's his sister
Something
at
like
points, who is, we discover much later on, is still alive.
Yep.
So there's all these like unnecessary contrivances. Like, that would have been, you know, a kind of like tasteless but still effective plot twist if we thought we were fighting both of them. But then it's like, no, she's been dead all this time. But that they do that, they pull that, and then later on they're like, oh no, she's actually still alive because this game is too fucking long, so it needs more twists.
Oh yeah, she's a flaming demon lady.
She has bat wings and tentacles, and
it's so bad.
That's a story for a couple minutes from now. But no, it's just a complete disaster of a villain in pretty much every way. Apologies if I didn't describe this in the most sensitive way possible. I'm just drawing from memory and trying to figure out what the motivation was behind this character.
I have no idea.
It's insane. It is really like the genesis of all their ridiculous shit that happens in the future.
It's like we're gonna talk about this towards the end of the Resident Evil segment, but this is really one of those games where they needed somebody in here to say no. Like, don't do that. They
could have
really
benefited from it many times.
Dude, do you remember
this was the first time that was really necessary.
Really needed. Do you remember that one cutscene where like Wesker is having like a wall running, punching, flying moment with the fire demon lady? Do you remember that in the mansion?
Yes. Well, they reintroduced Wesker in this game.
Oh right, sorry. Wesker's a flying monster.
Not only is he alive, surprise, he is also he has Matrix abilities now.
Yes.
He like, and it's really all this stuff that bothers you much later on in the series comes from here. It's really insane. They don't explain his motivations really too well. I mean, he's a cool character, so I guess I'm glad they brought him back.
I just thought he shouldn't have made it out of the first one.
It's pretty conclusive. Like, he gets run through and that's it.
Yeah, I really don't feel like he should have been in any games that aren't the first one.
Yeah. I mean,
this game
it's
makes
tough.
me tired. Like, it's so bad.
I'm already tired. I'm not even like, I don't know. I guess I have so much more to say.
I was gonna say, please continue unless you want me to take some stuff.
I'll throw it back to you at certain points, but
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the way this game is structured is really aggressive, really egregious, because you play as Claire. You're on this island. You go to Antarctica. You get captured, I believe, and then switch discs. Now you're playing as Chris, and you have to play the island again, and then he goes to Antarctica, and you play, and it's the same shit. Like, there are so few shortcuts. There are so few it recycles so much content.
And not only, I'm gonna sigh a lot when we make this. There are so many bad choices in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
Where you can soft lock yourself out of being able to beat it because enemies
I came close a couple times.
Enemies respawn in the island segment.
Yeah.
So if you keep wiping enemies, you can run out of ammo and not be able to beat bosses, and you have to do the whole game again. And it's just unbelievable to me, like, how much backtracking there is, how many enemies there are. It just, you could see them going the mini action route in this game,
Yeah.
but it does not work. And
No.
enemies are bullet sponges. They respawn. And then when you have to do the same segment as Chris,
Yeah.
oh, it's like, why?
I mean, I've got a lot of stuff from when I first played this game.
Yeah, please.
About the complaints that I had on the fly. So I'm gonna have a little bit more to say about this
Go
than I
ahead.
did a couple of the other ones. But so my first thing was voice acting has reached a new low, which is we've established that. Fighting controls and camera more than ever, which is unexpected because I had so much less difficulty with 3.
I just think it's another one of these bad trends that continued into Resident Evil 0.
Yeah.
Where they tried to make a quality of life or artistic choice that did not work.
It didn't pay off at all.
No, like the camera being able to move or it not being 100% static did not help the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations where you need to be super precise with your movements, and it's just really clumsy, and you get into extremely punishing results, like if you with the what are the Stretch Armstrong guys called?
But Bandersnatches?
Yeah, those guys, because what the fuck is their hitbox? Like, they just whoop, they just throw their arm at you. It's like, oh, okay.
And also, what is that? Is that a man? Is that you know
is
what I
that
mean?
a man?
No, do you know what I mean? Where just zombie
No,
is
I think it's
human.
like an experiment, right? I don't know.
But think about it, zombie's human, right?
Yeah.
Dog is dog.
What is
Bandersnatch?
I think it's like a frog.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And you know what it is? It's a bad gameplay choice.
It's just to me, it was just like a big yellow blob that its arms could extend like Mr. Fantastic.
I hated it. And dude,
I have here also, besides the enemy placement being ass, the ordinary zombies can take 7 to 10 handgun shots or 5 shotgun blasts. So you in a game with respawning enemies and finite ammo. Thank you so much, Capcom, for this wonderful.
Thank you that I can shoot between 11 and 14 crossbow bullets at a single enemy.
So sick.
I guess if we were to summarize that, there were a lot of balancing issues in this game.
Yeah,
a lot.
The avoidance is very tough, which is a bad thing to happen where ammo and herbs are increasingly scarce.
Can I say one positive thing about this game?
Okay.
And there aren't many.
If you must.
If I must. This is one of the few games where if you mash fast enough, you can take 0 damage from an enemy.
It's true.
You can get grabbed and just do a heroic, mashing and take none.
Yeah.
That is one aspect of strategy that is good about this game. The rest is bad.
No, yeah. It's I I mean, fair is fair. I'll give it that.
Yep.
But balancing is a good point because like some of the bosses, like the spider and the salamander, they're real pushovers. And then you have the Steve boss fight because later he gets infected and he turns into a big like Hulk monster.
Ogre axe thing.
Yes, and it's you. As far as I know, I think there may be like one very awkward way around it, but you have to take damage.
Yes, it's another aspect of soft locking in this game. By soft locking, I mean there are ways to not be able to beat the game because of resources.
Yeah.
And it's really, really bad. In the Steve boss fight, I believe there was one very, very specific workaround.
Yeah.
You have to run away from Steve until
Yeah.
the end, and you have to have at least 2 full healing items with you, or you can't win.
You're fucked.
You can't win.
You're absolutely
No,
fucked.
you literally can't.
Yeah.
And that is so poorly done.
Yeah.
Where you just got, 40 hours into the game, 30?
It's long.
It's far into the game. It's
Yeah.
almost the end. And I
Now
cannot
you can't
believe
beat it. I
they
wouldn't
did
pick
that.
it up if I couldn't do that.
I cannot believe
I think I
they-
just about made it a couple of times. Like,
Yeah. I just cannot believe they did that. The balancing in this game is a mess.
it's horrific. No, it's difficult to say because it's like things that bothered me. I was like, oh, this sucks, but the game just kept going on. So all those little problems just kept getting stretched out over the course of the game. I have no idea how it got so positively received at the time.
It was very positively received at the time. I gotta think at that time where 3D games were still in a very awkward phase, the production values for the time were through the roof.
Yeah, that's probably a factor.
When I think about that era of games, I can't think of many 3D action games, especially shooters, where the combat and the enemy design and the world design was that intricate, even though I think it's bad.
Yeah.
Now,
I think the locations are a lot worse than 1, 2, 3.
I didn't hate the prison. I didn't think it made a lot of sense that you were in a jail cell which led to a graveyard. It didn't make a lot of sense. I did not hate that. It was a little bit creepy, a little bit like, okay, maybe I wouldn't have thought to have a game in this setting. But why do you go to Antarctica? Why? Like,
And then there's like, there was one kind of spooky part where you go into like a torture chamber. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was a little tense. But I think that was something to do with the guy, the dad who has an open heart.
yeah.
It's the best way I can describe him.
Yeah.
But remember when you go to Antarctica and you get to the fake mansion, another fake mansion.
Oh,
I showed you that. It's like they remade.
the same.
You know why that exists?
Why?
I'm assuming because they wanted to flex that they could recreate the mansion in a fully rendered environment.
Fuck you.
That's why it happened,
fuck
right?
you. Like, I think at that point when Resident Evil is an interesting thing where you really have to be careful of how big the game is.
Yeah.
Because I believe Code Veronica is about 30 to 40 hours in a first play. Mm-hmm. And for a horror game, that's got to be a tight between 6 and 20, something like that. It obviously depends on the game.
It goes back to, well, for one, this game is not a horror game.
No, it's not.
I wouldn't classify it as such. It plays.
It's horror themed.
It plays similarly to the older games. Somehow gets a lot of things wrong that they got right. But it is not focused on being scary.
No.
And it should have been, number one. But number two, it goes back to what we were saying, where the longer it goes on and the more gear you get, the less scary things become. I really didn't like how Claire became a damsel in distress. And that the whole Chris chapter was based on rescuing her when she had so much agency before, and she was like... She was a tough biker, she was on her own mission, and then she's caught in like a spider web or something. I fucking forget.
I remember when I was at the end of this game, I said, "Can this fucking end?"
I screamed like end.
Yeah, I think you actually end the game as Chris, don't you?
I think it goes back to Claire.
Does it? When do you fight the final boss with the first person view and the rocket?
I believe that's with Claire, but that's at the very end where you fight Alexia in her 3 forms where she's a bat.
I remember Chris.
Why is there so many bats in this franchise?
Fuck this game.
Maybe you do it together.
I don't remember. It's just
everything about it seems just like incredibly poorly conceived.
Makes me tired because it is so tedious.
Yeah.
There's so much backtracking. The respawning enemies, it's so long. The characters are so bad.
I remembered something.
Yes.
The typewriter and item box placement is completely nonsensical.
Yes, sometimes they're separated.
I can understand like having a typewriter by itself. Like you can save here, but you can't do any item management. They have item boxes without any typewriters, and it's like that. Why? Just put them together. Like not at all. I don't know. It was weird, and then you have to go back. Remember, there's something where you can't get that item unless you leave it in a
security box.
Yeah. And then it's not a mandatory item, but
it's a fire extinguisher.
Yes.
Talking about getting the Magnum?
Yes.
And you can lock yourself out of getting the Magnum too, and I did. I left it in there. And I'm like, fuck you.
I think the fire that you have to extinguish there, like it was like hitting me without my character model even touching it. I was like, oh, that's just fucking on brand at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so inexplicably to me, a lot of people like this game. Personally, it is my least favorite of all the ones that I played.
Wow. It's in my bottom 3 for sure.
It just because it's so painful. Like I will never touch this game ever again.
Beppe actually caught me speechless there for a second. I can't believe I liked this game as a kid. Well, I shouldn't say that. I played 0 and then Code Veronica, and then my memory's hazy. I think I played 1.
Mm-hmm.
I remember restarting this game with my friends because of soft locking, and I remember remarking that I like 0 better.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
I can now. I mean, because that's like you could just play that like in like 10 hours. You're done.
You can just play.
This is torture.
I honestly think we should go to closing thoughts on this game.
I have nothing else to say other than it's a mistake.
Yeah, I cannot believe this game was so well received. I don't like it at all. And it's because it's not scary. It is annoying.
Yeah.
It is very annoying and takes too long. Mm-hmm. And those are my final thoughts.
If we're missing something, if we played the wrong version of this game, like I opened the box and got like, oh my god, I don't know.
I mean, I have it right here. I mean,
it's you put it in, it plays. Oh, there it is.
If I played the wrong version of Code Veronica X on the Gamecube, let me know, because this game sucks.
If everything we are describing sounds familiar, then I stand by my assertion that it is the worst one.
Find and earn cool weapons to battle biohazard-generated creatures. Fuck you.
So you got some Stretch Armstrong men?
We're done with this.
All right, that's it. Fucking wrap on Code Veronica.
Game. Don't play it.
Don't play. All right, moving on to one of the most significant, important entries in this whole franchise, Resident Evil 4. Just played it a couple months ago for the first time. I was very impressed for the most part. I'm going to defer to Greg for his impressions because this is a game that had huge ripples on the entire industry, for better or worse. And I mean, I just keep reading interviews where it's like, oh, well, we actually were very inspired by Resident Evil 4. Like, completely irrelevant, like Gears of War and everything like that. It's crazy.
This game, Beppe really nailed it. This game affected the gaming industry forever. This was a mecca of a release. When I get to the year 2005, this was the game. Every single game after Resident Evil 4 copied Resident Evil 4. Quicktime Events, even though they were in Shenmue, but Quicktime Events, over the shoulder third-person action could never go back after this. So a little bit of some good history about this game. Nintendo paid Capcom to make 3 games exclusive to the GameCube. And those 3 games were Resident Evil 1 Remake, 0, and 4. Shinji Mikami made Resident Evil 4 out of a reaction to how poorly the Resident Evil 1 remake sold, which I think is heartbreaking. There's a translated interview with him you can find where he said, "I thought I made my best game," in reference to Resident Evil 1, and then no one bought it. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it ended, as a backlash or a reaction to that, they made an over-the-top third-person shooter that changed video games forever.
To cut
Yeah.
in, I just wanted to
Yeah.
mention how in the process of this, they made Devil May Cry.
Yes,
Which is interesting.
Resident Evil after Code Veronica, and and the remake and Zero, Capcom went through a lot of demos or builds, or what's the word?
I think you got it. I mean,
They went through a lot of
Yeah.
maybe ideas of where the franchise should go. Mm-hmm. And there is a Resident Evil 3.5 demo that's been widely released on the internet that you can't play, but you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it's almost looks like Code Veronica, where the camera angle moves a little, but it's still static. And Leon, it stars Leon. He's fighting ghosts in a house.
really?
Yes. You never seen this?
I don't think so.
Really? Okay. It's called the Hookman Demo. It's
Okay.
very available online. You can really see where Capcom was struggling with, should this be a horror game or what should this be?
Yeah.
And I think I played this game on release day when I was 13 or 14, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like, this was, just for whoever listens to this, whether you're a younger or older, Beppe and I are in our 20s. This game really did change video games, and it was huge. So we're going to go into it.
Yeah.
Feel free to start with your first thought.
No, I mean, obviously I can't compare my having played probably dozens of games that were inspired by this game before I even played it. I just think it's really impressive that they not only create like this franchise reinvented itself so hard that it Resident Evil 1 was so impactful, and then like it's so rare to have like not even another one, like the fourth entry be like equally impactful, if not more so.
Where I think what you're saying is it's so rare for a franchise to impact the video game industry as a whole more than once.
Yeah.
Like Resident Evil 1 spawned every horror game ever. It's Silent Hill turns into Metal Gear Solid. Like, it's a huge amount of stuff.
Yeah.
And when you think about Resident Evil 4, and you think about, like you just said, Gears of War, Ghost Recon, like literally everything.
Yeah.
Every third-person shooter is this game.
I didn't realize that this was the genesis of third person.
It's the first one. It's unbelievable, really.
I mean, it's hard to believe that no one else thought of this.
I know.
Before this.
I just, when it comes to this game, it's tough to go back and play it now.
I think that the build that I was playing, the PS4 build, and I didn't realize this is evidently, it's like a Skyrim thing where every time there's a new console, they're like, well, we're porting Resident Evil 4.
Yeah,
And,
I
like,
think it's been
everyone is-
released 9 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's earned it.
Yeah.
I think the version that I played, I don't know if they changed anything, but the camera was like a little tight. It was a little too tight on Leon. I would have preferred a little bit more.
No, it is
loose.
tight. Yep.
But I mean, I don't know. It didn't bother me that much. It was enough for me to notice.
What's tough about this game, playing it now, when you played it at the time, monumental game. When you play it now, I do think the game is pretty clunky. What I actually found disappointing was Capcom re-released Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 0 with an updated control scheme where there are no tank controls.
All right.
You can use the analog stick freely.
Yeah.
I expected Resident Evil 4 to be the same. Where, okay, they're putting it on Xbox One and PS4, you're going to be able to move freely. You can't. And I was very disappointed that they chose not to make that decision.
Yeah.
But I really should go back to what the game... I shouldn't talk about it in terms of 2019. I should talk about it in terms of when it came out.
Yeah.
So many aspects of this game work, and so many aspects of this game really drove action games for the next decade.
Yeah.
Especially, I want to talk about this right off. Every boss battle is cool in this game.
Yeah.
All of them. everything from the lake monster where you throw spears to the chief to the god, everything. This game really goes set piece to boss, and it's really cool. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, before we get too far into it, how they make it work in terms of the free aiming.
Yeah.
How they have the laser sight.
Yep.
I do think the crosshair is better, but I mean, it's cool that was their solution at the time.
That's a very, what's the word? You know how music can be diegetic and non-diegetic?
Yep. It's the exact same thing.
This is a very diegetic gameplay element where the laser sight comes out of your gun and it's the aiming reticle.
Yep.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's, it is a good addition. The new inventory is awesome. I think.
Yeah, it's such a fun little mini game.
Yeah. Like he just kind of making everything fit perfectly well. This is kind of the beginning of Quicktime Events for
mainstream games.
They hung in there for a while. I don't despise them in this game, but I don't like them generally in games. I like them better when they use the controls that say X is attack, and then you have a quick time event where you have to press X to attack something. As long as it lines up,
it makes more sense.
I like it better. I don't know how you feel about it.
On the GameCube, this game did not control well. Okay. They had that same issue where Y is left and right now roll in a quick time event. Right. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Or Y is X now swing knife. That is never the button.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. But this game is very tough for me, where I think many aspects of this game are stupid.
Yeah.
A lot of the dialogue is bad. It's a lot of one-liner, goofy 80s action movie-y.
Yeah.
But it also is arguably the most influential game of all time.
Yeah.
So it's hard to judge. But I feel like if there's anybody who hasn't played this game who's listening to this, I would find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
I know so many people that I know who don't play horror games beat this.
Yeah.
And they liked it.
It does I tell people I was playing it for the first time, you never played that before?
That's like you. You played it for the first time, what, 3 months ago?
Yeah, a couple months ago.
That's really hard for me to believe.
And a lot of people I know, they don't follow this series, but they've played this.
Exactly. I know so many gamers who fall into that category.
Yeah. I think it just sucked me in immediately because this is something that may not resonate with a lot of people, but it has one of my favorite settings for the intro, which is it feels like fall, but it's this state of perpetual afternoon where it's the lighting is just it's just there, it's very still. It creeps me out a lot, and it's that's where they put you at the beginning, and I'm okay, it's it's an action game, but it's you're uneasy
that's where I do feel getting into really the objective analysis of this game. The strongest segment is the village. It's the beginning. We'll get into the later parts of the game in a couple of minutes, but I do feel the game does start to fall off in the castle, and it really falls off in the island, where the game starts to really go down this hallway of arcadiness and it verging on too dumb or too stupid.
Yeah, I like the castle because it reminds me of classic Resident Evil kind of gothic horror, and there is some shortcuts and exploration and stuff like that. I like it less than the village.
Yep.
And the island I just did not like at all.
No, I agree.
But let's stick with the beginning for now. I mean, it's just a great setup.
I was gonna say, I think the intro to this Resident Evil game is probably the best one in the franchise, maybe besides 7.
Yeah.
The way they set it up with you go to the house, you're kind of walking down the path, you encounter a couple of, Ganados is what they call them.
Yeah.
And
those cops that are mocking you in the beginning, it's it's so memorable.
I know, and when you play the village sequence and all the village comes after you and you have to fend them off.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then, I believe it's amount of enemies killed is how it's programmed.
Yeah, or I wasn't sure because I was down to my last bullet.
Yep.
And either way, it's just you don't know. You're just reacting how you would in that situation. And it's great because it's there hadn't been anything like that in one of these games before, possibly in like
any
game at all. And it's like I think the most successful ideas in this franchise and a great way to grow it going forward is when they take ideas from like successful horror movies, like great concepts that just work really well in certain games. And this is like, because they did zombies as pretty much as well as you could. And now they're doing like an evil village kind of thing, like where
these
like
people are human, they talk, and they communicate, and they sort of live normally, and then when they see you, they wig out, and then they have to kill you. And
which in and of itself is a whole different level of scary.
A very good word for this game is white knuckle. There are a lot of them and one of you, and it's just like they're all communicating, and it is uneasy. And let's say this, as much as I will dump on this game within the next couple of minutes, this game is intense.
It is.
Like when you're blasting away and waves of these people are coming at you and throwing axes and pitchforks at you, you're ready to rumble. Like it's a good game.
I also like the Spanish that is like they're communicating in a language that you may or may not understand. And they're talking amongst themselves, and if you do know what they're saying, it's kind of even scarier.
Funnier.
It's funnier.
Actually, they'll mock you if you don't play well. I'm behind you, imbecile.
That's awesome.
It's really funny. It's
so sick.
It's what's really funny is a flaw of the game, unfortunately, is they're speaking in a Mexican dialect, but you're in Spain.
True, yeah.
Unfortunate, but I didn't know that as a non-Spanish speaker.
I was reading also, the wikis are notoriously nitpicky, but it was like, well, there's easily 500 villagers, but it could realistically only support 30. It's one of those choices. But it's like whatever. I feel the same way. But no, the whole intro is great. I thought it was an interesting setup that you're going after the president's daughter. And then you also have this ticking clock element of Leon being injected with the parasite. And that is something, it's not initially easily swept away. And it's like, well, what am I going to do about this? Like, you're thinking about the whole game, like that you have like a ticking clock until this manifests into something else. So that's, it's a compelling premise, like both sides of it. Like you were saying, all the set pieces, like the lake monster is really cool. The cave troll is like the first time you see it anyway.
The first time is cool. The rest I think maybe shouldn't have been there.
No. It's interesting too that before it even came out, the way they framed it was very like Fellowship of the Ring, like all the cutscene direction. I was like, what is a cave troll going to come out? And then it did. I was like, wow. So I think it was definitely like an homage.
If you go up to the door before the boss battle, it says I can hear something growling. And it's like, oh boy. So even though it looks like a boss chamber, but whatever,
it's fine.
The thing about this game that I think we should go into next is Resident Evil really jumped the shark with Code Veronica, but it really did in this game, where not only I do think Ashley is a bad character. We'll go into that too.
But I think it's schlock, but schlock that works because it's tonally consistent.
Can I add on that? The problems I have with the Resident Evil franchise are that sometimes it tries to be serious and sometimes it's stupid unintentionally. This game is stupid the whole time.
On purpose.
Yeah.
And like the when you're fighting Chief Mendez in the barn, and it's on fire. That is fucking awesome. And it's ridiculous, but it works. It reminds me of like The Thing or something. It's just like a really intense boss fight.
Luego. I still remember this game. Like, I still remember all the stupid lines.
And you take his eye out.
Yeah,
that was a great bit. I think we got to move on to the castle, right?
I was going to say, well, before we go into the castle, we should talk about Ashley, because you get her before that.
That's true, yeah.
I do think the Ashley segments do make the game worse.
I have had worse companions. Like, she does what you tell her.
She does. What I don't like about this, yes, you can tell her to hide. Yes, enemies will go after her and try to kidnap her. I just feel like the segments with her are worse. Because
it's just annoying.
It's annoying, and this game is more intense when it's just you. When you have,
fun.
it's more fun, and there are some aspects to the game that are pointless. Example, why Ashley can only take one or two hits before dying. Why would you heal her when resources are at a premium?
Yeah.
Why?
Or can you use yellow
Yes,
herbs
you
on
can
her?
upgrade her health
okay,
too.
so that's
And what I also don't like, I like that there are checkpoints in this game because it's a different kind of game.
yeah.
But it also takes the tension out of the game. I might as well try this part again because the saves are so generous.
Yeah.
Ashley's gonna die. I don't care. I got a checkpoint anyway.
Yeah.
It starts to take you out of the experience a little. It's. I just feel like the game. This is a personal preference. The game is better when she's not on the screen.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of true. She's just like
annoying. It'd be one thing if it was almost like a. Then again, I can't use future sight here. If it was like a Last of Us situation where Ashley can do things for you,
yeah.
or she can fight a little, or do some things with you that aren't hugely scripted. Like, oh, I need to put Ashley on my shoulders to open a door.
Yeah.
Like if there was some usefulness.
I'm gonna jump ahead here,
Yeah.
just for the sake of this comparison. Because that is a good way to get you attached to a character, is if they have some sort of utilitarian purpose. Later on, I honestly, the whole game, you're gonna think I'm terrible, but I couldn't care what the fuck happens to Ashley.
I don't either.
But at the end, when you're on the island and you're completely surrounded by everyone, that guy Mike comes in with the helicopter.
Yes!
And he fucking mows down everyone. And I was just like, yes!
Mike!
But like when he dies, inevitably, because every secondary character dies, I was like, no!
Yes! Yeah.
So it's like, that's how you get people invested.
Yes.
Like, he's not developed at all. He's just like,
in the
great.
game for 8 minutes.
He helps you. That's
Yeah.
it. She doesn't help you at all. She just annoys you.
Yeah, she's annoying, and you're right. I think that segment of the game is not good.
Yeah,
but like
that's a highlight of that part.
But you know what it is? It's just like the game at the island is just such a shooty blasty fest. It's really, they could have cut most of it, I think.
Yeah.
But that Mike segment, you're right. Where I was like, when Mike's like, I got you covered. I'm
Yeah.
like, let's go.
Let's fucking go, baby.
Let's go.
But I just had to jump ahead real quick just to make that comparison. But you briefly are with her and you go into the castle and she gets captured again, and you meet Napoleon.
Yeah, you mean.
Which is another. He is pretty in line. Not as extreme as the Ashfords.
The Ashfords.
Yeah,
Where I don't think he's a good character. You know what though? But because the game is dumb the whole time,
I think he works.
He does. He works, right?
It's weird.
And Leon's one-liners with him are funny.
Yeah, when he
Bro.
Yeah, that too. But when he's, his little like Imperial guards that he's got, and he sends one of them after you later.
Yes.
He's like, "I've sent my right hand to take care of you," and Leon says, "Your right hand comes off." It's like, what? Wait, all right. This must sound better in Japanese because this makes no fucking sense. Was that supposed to be a burn?
Yeah,
your right hand comes off. That was so funny. I didn't hate the castle chapter. I thought it was like weaker than the village.
I don't hate it. It's too long.
It is a bit long, yeah. But that
also,
is the one where you get the Kokelo.
Oh, get him. That's pretty scary.
You hear it in the distance, like, oh shit.
Yeah. There are. You know what I do like about this game? I like most of the enemy design.
I like when they start wearing those gold masks so you can't headshot them. That's clever.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one thing I don't love is I feel like too many zombies when their head pops off, the virus comes out.
Yeah, that's annoying.
There are a bit too many, but what I do like, the blind the blind guys with the claws. Like the mini bosses with the armor, and they can slash at you, and you have to. There's that one segment where you have to snipe their backs.
Oh yeah.
I do like that. I thought the enemy design in this game is good.
Yeah,
a lot of different weapons, a lot of different in all parts of the game.
Is this? Can you kill the centipedes when they come out? Las Plagas, when they come out of their necks, is this the one you can kill them with flash grenades?
Yes.
So that's like a little bit more utility for the flash grenades.
Yeah. I will say this. You're right. Cool way to use flash grenades.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Because it's like they're blind or whatever. Jumping ahead a little bit, since you're talking about enemy design, I think the regenerators are really clever, and I don't think I've seen anything like them in any other game.
No, where you have to use the thermal sight and shoot parts of their body.
Yeah, because the parasites are in them.
That is a part of the game that gives a lot of gamers a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
I didn't really get that because I was a veteran of the franchise at that point.
Right.
I just thought, all right, let's go.
Yeah. And a mutual friend who just played it for the first time told me he was really, those enemies really freaked him out.
Yeah, because you hear
Yeah.
the sort of the breathing. It's
Yes.
pretty good. That's really the best part of the island, though. The rest of it kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, just going through, I liked the when you fight his right hand and you have to freeze
Verdugo.
it.
Yeah, where you're in the sewer.
That's
and
right.
You have to dump over the tanks and freeze them.
It's better than the giant crickets. They're pretty forgettable.
I agree. Oh no! Like we'll talk about that. That's when it comes to that boss. As a kid or my first time playing it, I was like, okay, this section's awesome. When like you have to do the Quicktime Events. Why? Whoop, and his tail comes out.
Yeah.
Whoa,
That was tense.
It was pretty cool. There is before we. Okay, we'll talk about enemies for a second. Those not conquistadors. I forget what the enemy Spanish term. It's close to that.
Yeah, it is.
It's novistadors. The unseen.
Yeah.
Those little bug enemies are very broken. There is a segment in a cave where like 80 come after you. You can get caught in an infinite loop of taking damage.
Right.
And especially on professional mode, that section is unbelievable. Like it is so poorly broken. That's really the one enemy I did not like. I just thought it just wasn't fair.
Do you think, like, we haven't talked a lot about the different difficulties, but do you think it's one of those cases where they didn't test that, they just bumped up the values? Because that happened it happens sometimes, like Halo 2 and Legendary is like they did not test it. It's clearly just broken.
I would say yes, because Resident Evil 4 is all math. There's no other aspects.
Yeah.
It's all shooting and damage. That's it. I think enemy damage in Resident Evil 4 on professional is very bloated, like to the point where I don't want to talk about professional too much, where it's not the standard difficulty, it's unlocked.
Right.
But I would say Resident Evil 4 is challenging enough.
It is,
if you ask me.
When you get to that later part where you're on like the mine carts and they start dropping the chainsaw guys on you, we haven't talked about those guys yet. That is an interesting like panic kind of situation.
That is a very good enemy design. Where I remember the first time I encountered one. It took me probably 14 years to actually do that segment in the village where you get the shotgun and he comes out.
Right.
I never did that.
Yeah.
But the chainsaw guys, when you hear it revving, you're like, whoa. And they're just screaming and running at you.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
You get that music that starts playing.
Yeah. It's cool. I do want to say one thing about the bosses in this game, because there is Resident Evil 4, it is dated at this point. So I don't want to dump on it too much. For the visuals don't stand up today. I think the shooting is very clunky today. Something I do want to talk about, there is I believe a balancing issue in the game, and that balancing issue is you can infinitely buy rocket launchers. You can just buy them, and they defeat every boss in one shot.
That's true, yeah.
That is a very broken part
I never
of this
bought
game,
one, so that's
where that whole Napoleon fight is you can just shoot a rocket at him and it ends.
Oh, that boss fight is absurd.
Yeah,
that's where the game really like kicks it into high schlock.
Yeah, high schlock. We should really have a moment in this where we have to like ring a bell for a schlock moment, or be like, oh wait, they jumped the shark again.
You can just put it in post. Like I don't know what we do, but some thing from the games, I guess. But that was a real like, are you? Even though I knew I was playing a schlocky game, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he turns gigantic, and his left hand joins him in being gigantic, and they're both, like, trying to grab you and shit. And I was like, all right, well, I don't love this part, but okay.
I've beaten the game so many times where I actually haven't beaten some bosses in so long. I rocket launcher everybody.
Yeah,
they really should not allow you to do that.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked about that, though. The buying and selling system, which this is the first game where that was in it.
Yes.
It's excellent.
It is.
Really the upgrade system is just very fun.
Yep. And there's some minor part of that with the health, too, with the yellow herbs.
Yeah, your health is upgradable.
Yeah.
That was the first time you could do that.
Because the game is long enough and replayable enough where it matters. Like, you can fuck around with it a little bit. The merchant is of course iconic at this point.
What are you buying? There's so many iconic moments in this game, really.
And he remains one of the, is another thing. Like Ashley, who is a developed character, versus the merchant who has like 5 lines and is so much more interesting.
Yeah,
and it's like they never explain it.
No,
like it's how does he keep showing up in all these absurd locations? And it's like he will also show up in more sensible locations. Like if enemies are gonna flood a corridor, he will move to like a balcony above it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So he's not, invulnerable. Like he's like a real person.
If you kill him, he does come back.
Yeah,
which is cute. You know what though? Something I do want to talk about that I've been itching to say about this game. There are really 2 things. I hate that segment where this is the moment where I'm wrong, but this is the moment where I think the franchise really fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Is when you have to jump over the lasers in the hallway. You
I remember that?
When it's all the Quicktime events. And you jump. There's this one of Quicktime event where these lasers are coming at you, and if you do the Quicktime event, Leon runs up a wall vertically and flips over it. I said, okay, so this is where the franchise got crazy.
That's the last one, right?
Yeah. I'm like, no.
You know what that reminds me of though? I feel like they were trying to channel the movie.
That's
remember
exactly
that?
what I thought. I don't know what came out first though.
The movie, I think.
Fuck.
Here's a quick aside. I put off playing these games for a long time because I saw the first movie and I thought the games were like that. And I was like, I don't want any part of this.
You're very wrong.
But now
we hate you,
now
Paul
I know.
W.S. Anderson.
Yeah. Good luck with Monster Hunter.
Yeah, good luck.
All right.
I do want to say the last talking point for me, until you bring up another subject about this game.
Yeah.
The way the game ends is also horrendous.
It's bad.
And I say this to everyone about this game. Capcom just put out the best game in 2005 by a lot.
Yeah.
They changed games forever. And the last line of the game is Ashley propositioning Leon for sex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck you. Like, that is so bad. The whole line about the overtime and Leon denies her. What makes me... This is where I really need a moment where... Like, Beppe, you said this very well. What Resident Evil really needs as a whole is a guy in the meeting who says no.
Yeah.
Should Ashley proposition... No. No. Like, no. Why?
Well, it not only is it inappropriate, it adds nothing.
It adds
like
nothing.
That's not their relationship at all. Like
No.
he's just like he's a more custodial figure. He's not a romantic, interest for her. And not at least what my impression was. It's weird to have that be the punctuation mark at the end of all this.
The game leaves a bad taste in your mouth, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I have here bridge creature. Do you know what that means?
Bridge creature?
Yeah. A boss?
Are you
maybe?
talking about the one where he's kind of like you have to keep shooting the lights and moving through the level as he comes down and chases you, then you have to fight him towards the end of the game?
Yes, I believe so. Like it's like it comes up a couple times and it's like so unmemorable that I just wrote bridge creature.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? All the bosses I think are awesome, but that's probably the weakest.
Yeah.
It would be cool if the only segment was him chasing you on that thing.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Because it's like really white knuckly.
Yeah.
But when you actually fight him after too, it's very hum-ho.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's all right.
I did like the fight with
Krauser.
Yes, him. It's one of those things where I like fighting him normally, but then when he grows like the super arms, I'm like, I kind of check out. This happens with every time they do that.
Yeah, me too.
They pull that trick.
I actually thought the knife fight with him was it's an incredibly interesting moment for gaming.
Yeah.
Because that is a quick time boss fight.
Yes.
And it was fascinating. And as a kid, I thought it was really hard. I crush it now.
Yeah.
But I have a bad taste in my mouth because I do think the island as a whole is weak.
Yeah.
Because it's very arcadey. A lot of enemies have guns. It's kind of unfair.
I think it's like once you... in terms of design philosophy, once the zombies, not really, but zombies have guns, I think you're done. Like,
yeah,
you gotta like... You might as well be making something else. Like, don't give them guns. You can give them like pitchforks and shit like they did earlier on, but the guns are. I couldn't remember if it was this one or 5 where they started using them.
Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah.
The big chubby chain gun ones.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I will say, like, then again, like, I think Krauser's a dumb character, but I like the knife fight. For some reason, this game glues together
I
well.
like the little cat and mouse game you play in the ruins with him. That was cool. I'm trying to it's you know what? It just makes it so frustrating because the rest of the game is so tight, and then the island is kind of just like, I don't want to make assumptions, but it feels like they're running out of time, and it's like, all right, let's put a bunch of enemies. Let's make
let's cure the virus. Let's get a bunch of enemies in here. Let's do the Krauser
That
thing.
was another thing that I have.
Yeah.
The virus. I thought, like, when you get into that thing and it gets removed from you, that chair, for both of you, I thought at some point something was going to go wrong, something was going to attack you, or you're going to need to do a QuickTime event while you're in the thing. No, it's just done.
No, Dead Space did it better.
It's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
No, it's just so anticlimactic. And I feel the same way about the final boss.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's just not as interesting as some of the earlier ones.
No, it's almost like they really built up this virus thing, but then it's a 30-second cutscene and it's just done.
It's over with.
So you're telling me they could have taken the virus out of anyone? Why is that machine there?
That's for reasons.
Why? And do you know what's really bothersome about the end of the game? Besides the final boss, which is a little bit hum-ho.
Yeah.
The jet ski sequence would be really cool if you couldn't fail it.
Yeah, it sucks.
As it sucks. It took me so many tries. It really took me out of the game.
You know why it bothers me most, though? It's like it doesn't test anything that you've done.
No, it doesn't.
At this point,
it's a new thing.
There is no jet ski or any vehicle section like that earlier in the game, unless I'm forgetting something.
Well, you can ride the boat, but there are no buttons. You just ride it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was like, why is this the final thing?
I don't know.
At least like end of MGS1, you're shooting, you're not driving. So it's like that's one aspect of the game, I guess. But driving a jet ski and accidentally hitting a rock, that is no part of Resident Evil 4.
No. It's just that's the thing about this game. If I were to critique this game, it gets too arcadey and stupid. And I understand stupid glue is what holds it together.
Yeah.
There's too much. Whether it's you can fail on the jet ski, the giant statue chasing you, jumping over the lasers, Ashley propositions you. Why?
I think it's a circus act that they do it pretty well for a while and then it just falls apart at the end.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the last bit is the worst, in my opinion. I was just going to ask you super quick as a closing thing. Did you play either the Mercenaries mode or Ada's
I
mode?
beat the Mercenaries 100%.
Really?
I got all the unlocked guns.
I haven't played any of it yet, or for any of them.
It was challenging. What I think is interesting is I forgot that Resident Evil used to include little arcadey modes into games. I kind of forgot about that. It was what I do think there's an aspect of arcadiness to Resident Evil 4 that helps it and hurts it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you unlock guns in that mode, that you can kind of have fun and run through the game, it's interesting to me where Capcom thought about replayability, where I don't think in any other game they did.
Right.
Not really.
Something I didn't even fuck with was the shooting galleries.
I did it a little bit.
And it
just kind of reminded me of a worse Ocarina of Time minigame.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the merchant there.
Yeah.
I don't even know when he said, "What are you shooting?"
Yeah, exactly. It was all right.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. I fucked around with the Ada stuff like a little bit.
Yeah. That was not on the GameCube version, PS2.
Really? Yeah. I didn't get very far. It was interesting because it's kind of showing. It makes more sense than like when we were talking about Leon and Clara in 2. They show you that she's the one who rings the bell when he's in the village, and it's like, so she's kind of doing this behind the scenes stuff, working around the clock, like
it shows you a little more and it's helpful.
Yep.
Do you have any closing thoughts on Resident Evil 4?
No, I really like it, and it's unfortunate that the ending doesn't hold up as much as the earlier parts.
Yeah, I agree. I would say this: it was a GameCube game.
Yep.
And out of the 3 GameCube games that Capcom was commissioned to make, I do think the remake is better than this game because it has stood up for 17 years. And I don't think Resident Evil 4 plays well now. I do think obviously it was the most influential game of all time in 2005, but 14 years later, I think other games have done it better.
Well, here's actually one thing that you just brought to mind in terms of that. I was talking with somebody else about the potential 3 remake, and they said they're absolutely going to do 4 because 4 is so beloved. Like that would like if they did this like really upgraded everything like even if it wasn't super necessary, like they would print money.
That's the ultimate cash cow that I would be like, F it, I have to play it. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I mean, if they improved the last part, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah. But then again, would they not remake it because it is so beloved and there's no reason to change it, even if people hate parts of it because they've sold tens of millions of copies?
Yeah.
I guess that's for the future segment.
But that's the last one because I noticed like a lot of these remakes are motivated essentially mostly by visuals.
Yeah.
And that's the last one that you really need
to upgrade the visuals.
Yeah.
I think that's going to conclude Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
And we're gonna, oh boy.
This is where we get into dicey waters.
Yeah,
here.
okay.
It's gonna be fine. Don't worry. I'll walk you through it.
Thanks.